Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Transforming Furniture. My name is Monica and I am the founder and creator of Jersil Vintage. Today's video is part 2 of recovering a beautiful set of chairs that I got a while back from a friend. So if you haven't seen part 1, I would go ahead and pause this video, go watch the first one because that one's going to go over deconstructing the chairs and getting them ready for new fabric, and then come back and watch this one. So if you guys are ready, let's get started. As I mentioned in my first video, a lot of the knowledge I've gained about upholstery comes from taking a piece apart. So when I'm ready to put it back together, I go back to all the pictures I documented to buy new material or to make a decision as to whether or not I'm going to be reusing the old material. So for these chairs, I'm going to be using 1-inch foam for the seat and 1/2 inch for the back of the chair. Now you can do this with a handheld regular heavy-duty stapler or a battery-operated stapler, but since I already have a compressor, it's just easier for me to attach my pneumatic stapler to it. I use a Ridgid 4.5-gallon compressor that I got at Home Depot, but I've heard that you can get basically the same thing at Harbor Freight and it's just as good, but it's for a lot cheaper. As always, don't worry about the materials being used because I will have them in the description box below. First, I'm going to lay the foam to the back of the chair and then I'm going to put a few anchor staples so I can attach the foam roughly where I want it. Anchor staples allow you to roughly center your material, whether that's foam, batting, or fabric, to the piece, and they can certainly be removed if necessary to make adjustments. Now here I'm just loading up my stapler with more staples, and once I'm done doing that, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting into the foam, and this is just to allow the foam to kind of contour around the round edges of the chair. Once you're done attaching the foam, go ahead and cut any excess with a super sharp blade, but be careful not to cut your finger like I did. And this is what it should look like once you're done cutting all the excess. Next, I'm going to start attaching the foam to the seat, and it's basically the same thing that I did to the back, except this time I'm tucking the extra foam between the seat and the back so I can add a few anchor staples to the back so I can secure the foam to the front of the chair. I hope this makes sense once you see it. So here I'm just adding the front staples, and you want to take your time and make sure that you are not stapling beyond the frame or the edge. This is not something that you want to be doing fast, and you also have to be careful that you're not putting your finger between the stapler and the frame. So just take your time and go a little bit at a time. So I wanted to show you how I use the old cuts of fabric as templates for my new fabric, and this is what I'm going to be using for this transformation. Now I've already cut down this one panel, the sides at least, and it is a little more advanced, but you guys can do it. You also have to have a little bit of knowledge with a sewing machine, or you need to know how to use it. Like, it's basic, it's like literally a straight line. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be attaching this panel, which is the right side, to the center panel, and I need to cut 2 of each. And I'm going to be doing the same thing on the left side. You guys can do it. It's really not that difficult, but you do need to know how to use a sewing machine for this part. And this is how my panels look like after I've cut them. Something that I learned in fashion school is to do these little nudges on your fabric to line them up with the other piece of fabric, and this helps you, basically it tells you where to start and where to stop, and it just lines them up for you. Now once you have your panels together, just bring them over to the sewing machine and start putting them together. I like to use pins just to help me keep it lined up, and I take them out as I go. You really don't have to, but I was just terrified that I would break a needle in the process because I don't have a replacement, and I didn't want to run to the store to get a new one, so I just went ahead and took out the pins. If this is too advanced for you guys, you can definitely find projects that are not as advanced, but you can do it. I truly believe that the only thing stopping you from accomplishing a project like this is fear of failure. So don't be afraid, give it a try, because to be honest with you, the worst thing that could happen is that it doesn't work out and you have to get rid of the project. So don't be afraid, give it a try. Now that I have all my pieces put together, I'm going to go ahead and add a layer of batting before I start putting down my fabric. This panel here is to cover the seat, and as you can see, I have to add extra batting to the corners so they look firm and plumpy. Using the same procedure as with the foam, I will be adding anchors to all sides of the chair to make sure that my fabric is centered, and then I will start adding my staples to the front. Once the seat panel was done, I went ahead and moved to the front back panel. Make sure that you are going in reversed order when you're putting the chair back together. Now here, I'm just going to take my fabric, fold it in half, and I'm going to cut a few nudges in the middle. This way I can center my fabric onto my chair. I also like to use these hair clips just to hold my fabric so I can put my anchor staples down. And finally, we're ready to lay down the first big panel. The key to stapling your fabric onto your piece without it wrinkling is to add the anchors so that you have equal parts on each side, and you also have to pull tight with one hand while you're stapling with the other one. Now right here, this is real time. This is how long it takes. I'm going to go ahead and start speeding it up because it's basically more of the same thing repeated all over again. So just remember anchors and make sure that you're pulling tight. Here I'm just tucking all the fabric that's going to be behind the chair, and I'm making sure not to cut too much because if you cut too much, it's going to show through the front of the chair. Once I have my fabric pulled through, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my staples to the back. And again, you're going to have to cut the fabric, not too much, and this is just to help you get the fabric all around those curved edges. Here I'm just cutting as I go. I'm using a really sharp blade, and this is again just to help me contour the fabric onto the sides of the chair. And tracing back the steps as to when I took the chair apart, I'm just going to go ahead and put the batting back into the cavities where I found it. After I'm done doing this, I'm going to be using a piece of utility fabric that I also got at JoAnn's, and I'm going to be covering every single one of the spaces. I am not a professional upholsterer, but I do follow directions pretty well, and this is how I found the chair, so this is how I'm going to put it back together again. And to be honest with you, I think this is just to make it have a more refined finish. I guess I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know why they do it like this. I'm just following the same steps, putting it back together how I took it apart. And last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and start putting the last panel on the chair. And last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and take my blade and just go all the way around the frame of the chair, removing all the extra fabric and getting it ready for the very last step. To cover up all the staples, I'm going to be using this gold trim that I bought at JoAnn's. Basically, all my products when it comes to fabric were purchased at JoAnn's. This is the article number, just in case you want to replicate the same look. It's very pretty, it's very ornate, and it's thick enough to where I can cover up my staples. Here, I'm just using some regular hot glue to go around and put it on top of those staples. So what do you guys think about this video? Do you want me to continue doing upholstery videos on top of furniture flips? If you have any ideas of specific furniture content that you would like me to do, let me know in the comments down below. Also, thank you for helping my channel reach 1,000 subscribers. It really hasn't been easy, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I love doing this. It really brings me joy, and I hope it brings you joy as well. Don't forget to show my channel some love, and I'll see you guys next week for another furniture flip. Bye-bye!